Okay, welcome to activities section for Cybersecurity Application 2. In this activity, we'll be going through a simulation with the robot. And some bits and pieces here that might be a bit confusing. So this is why we're doing a walkthrough with you, just in case you run into some difficulties. But we've got 4 steps, 4 activities that we're going to go through, and we'll go through them one by one. So in the first section, we'll go to step 1, which I've got the tabs already open here. Just a bit of a company background. This is just a simulation, so this is nothing here is real. But we've got a company called Rick the Robot. They are a robotics company, and they look after industries such as, they create advanced robots for industries such as healthcare, manufacturing, and entertainment. So already I can see healthcare and manufacturing, 2 really big important parts in terms of cybersecurity, especially healthcare, because people can get hurt, like physically and seriously hurt, if people attack healthcare appliances, for example. Manufacturing, that's also can be really damaging, because it's sometimes hackers can get into devices or applications that are created from that are manufactured, especially hardware, and they're really hard to stop and defeat. So there is some really important information here. And of course, entertainment is a really large industry, especially in Australia and in the West. You'll need to download a Rick the Robot's policies and procedures here. Just download that, and that will open. So that'll be, you'll need that to complete this assessment. But the scenario here is that Rick the Robot experienced multiple denial of service attacks. So denial of service attack is a strategy that bad actors use to try to shut down and bring down a system for whatever purpose. They could do it just for fun. They could do it because it could be corporate espionage. The competitors who want to shut your business down. They could be it could be an initial attack for another attack that will follow. So they'll shut your firewalls down, and then that will enable them to perform other attacks. Yep. So that's the attack that's happening at the moment. And what we're going to do here is we're going to find out what's happened, and if you continue along with this assessment, we'll see what's required of us. They experienced multiple denial of service attacks, so that's really worrying. It's not just once. It's not just an abnormality. It's continuing. It's persistent. So something more in it than just a random script kiddie, for example. There's something a little bit more serious going on here, more sinister. And what's happening is that the attacks are flooding the company servers with a lot of traffic, and this causes outage. And that this is a common scenario with denial of service attacks. So there is a timeline. So we're recording something. The first attack overwhelmed the web servers, causing downtime. Ongoing attacks over several months. The same thing is happening. And so this is a really concerning client. What's the outcome of this? Of this attack? Obviously we've got vulnerabilities here, but the attacks that are happening. What's the outcome here? Well, the clients are not happy. We're going to lose business. This Rick the Robot is going to lose business if we don't get this sorted out, and which prompted an internal review. And then and there was a security gap analysis. So that's really common in as part of looking at to see what issues, what are the vulnerabilities in a network. Security gaps identifying. Definitely something that we would look into. So investigation revealed insufficient security logging. So there is logging in place, but it's not good enough. It's not enough. And this prevented timely detections of the attacks. So we're getting logs, but it's not enough. Rick the Robot's network setup includes essential devices. So we've got routers, we have firewalls, and we have internal systems that play a crucial role in securing the infrastructure. So we've got technology already in place. It's not just as if we're saying, look, welcome, you can come in and do anything you like. Rick the Robot does have a defense. They do have infrastructure. It's just not good enough at the moment. But, and it mentions here that the company just lacks proper logging of security events. So our job is to get this information and analyze the data, and later on make recommendations. How would you fix this? How would you solve this issue? So these are what we've got. We've got a router, we have a firewall, internal system. And then that question 1 is asking just that. What do we have? We have a firewall, router, and an internal system. So we've got things like network devices, web service, workstations, and so forth. In order to help Rick the robot with their denial of service attacks, what data logs would we like to look at? Well, I know I have the answers here, but I want to explain a little bit more about this. We definitely want to know where the source IP address is. If we know where the attacks are coming from, then we can, at least at our firewall, block that IP address. Not a permanent solution, because attackers they're probably using a VPN, or they will change the IP address, but at least it's something. It'll stop some attacks. I would like some logs from a web server, definitely, and we have one that we're going to look at shortly. Timeline. When did this attack, what's the timeline? When did it start? How long did it, what was the duration? When was the major attacks? Like, if it was just a time of a day, or was it like 2 o'clock in the morning? We want to know exactly the timeline. How often are these attacks occurring? Did we detect any malware, or was there any malicious software? So is anything floating around? Is there anything still there? And that's a common strategy by attackers when it comes to persistent threats. Sometimes they're very patient. They'll just wait. They'll do a denial of service, and then they'll install some malware that will wait for a certain time. We need to be able to find out if we can find that malware. And then obviously the type of attack, we know what it is already. It's a denial of service attack. So the first thing you're going to do is you have to simulate that you're hired for this organization, and you're going to write an email to the CEO, who in this situation is Daniel. And you're going to explain everything above, and as well as your strategy for processing and looking at the data. So you're going to mention the data logs you'll be accessing, how you'll be looking at processing the data. So what you're doing is you need to contact the person of authority in an organization, and you have to make sure that person has authority. It gets confusing now and then. You have all people with all these amazing titles, and they do this and that, but sometimes they actually don't have the authority to give you permission to perform this, to look at this personal information. You have to make sure that you're getting the right person who has the authority to let you look into this system. It's tricky, it's not easy. But you have to write a professional email, and you have the information there already. Basically just remember that when you're talking to a CEO, they're the person of authority. Usually they're pretty intelligent people. Usually they got there with hard work, and they've managed to climb the corporate ladder. But yeah, we have to assume that we'll be speaking to them in a professional language, but not a technical language, unless they are technically savvy. So talk professionally with respect and courtesy, but keep the acronyms to a minimum, and keep the technical jargon to a minimum. Just be professional and polite, but don't be condescending. Don't put them down. Don't be inauthentic. Don't be fake. People hate a lot. We hate, like everyone hates fake people. Passive aggressiveness, or passive or that you kind of a bit sweet, bit nice. Just be professional, solid, polite, and in a nice tone, and especially in emails. What legislative requirements? If you're in the WA, there's a couple there. You can just Google this and search for this. This is pretty straightforward. You can find this information elsewhere. Next part is we'll go to step 2. Step 2 is we're going to look at the data set. So you're not going to go to a log server and compile this information already. That's just too much. That's a lot of work for you as learner. So we've completed this task for you, and the data set is available now, and it's being provided to you. But you've got the hard part now. The hard part is to translate this information. It is to gather information and analyze the data that's before you. So the data set currently is from some type of log server when the traffic was recorded. So it shows you here that there's a timeline here. There's 12 p.m., 12:01, 12:02. You can see some things happening there. Traffic coming in. This is a classic denial of service attack. There's nothing going out, so no one's trying to extract information from our system, but they're attacking our system, and it's really high. That's a lot of traffic coming in. The router IP address. I don't know if there's oh yes, there is. We've got some IP address information. We don't really have a source information, so that's interesting. There's no source. We can't find much coming. We know what's being attacked, but we don't know where the origin is. So maybe that's something you could consider writing as a recommendation. Our logs are not recording the source of the attack. We need that. It's really important. Was the firewall status active? I believe that it was active. So the firewall's not doing its job. Or maybe it's being overwhelmed. Or maybe we need something else. Maybe the firewall's not designed to do the job that we're asking of it. There are so many different types of firewalls. There are web application firewalls. There are the next generation firewalls that do deep packet inspection. There are intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention systems. We have to find out what is the best solution for this scenario. Not all firewalls don't usually do everything. Except the next generation firewalls are capable of a lot, but it's just only that one device. And if that goes down, your whole system is in trouble. So that's something to consider. Traffic in, well, we can see that there's a lot of traffic in at 12:01. We'll be looking at that. Traffic out, not much leaving, so no one's stealing data that we know of. What about the alerts? Why aren't we getting alerts? We've set alerts. Oh, well, there's none here. There's none there. But we do get a high traffic alert. And we get it at 12:02. So we're getting it around there. So what's happening? Why didn't we see that alert? So we got the alerts, but how come we don't have it? Why hasn't anything been done about this? Something to look into now. And the threshold breach. So the threshold breach means that there's 1,000 units. Whatever those units are, that's not the topic of this assessment. It's bits per second or packets. It's just units. Just leave it at that for now. But we've said the threshold has been 1,000 has been set. It's gone over 1,000 at 2:02. The alert was at 2,500. But why didn't it go as soon as it hit 1,000? Somewhere between there. If we look at the alert here, the high traffic alert hit at 12:02 on the dot. But we've got a threshold of 1,000. So if we had that alert, we could have done something to prevent even worse. So we've got an issue here. It's measuring by minutes. That's not good enough. We need to measure this live. We need the metrics to be much more accurate. Even if it's 12:01 and 5 seconds, we need an alert right then. There's 3 minutes of really bad traffic. If we get an alert at 10 seconds, then we can stop it. Someone working at the Security Operations Center, the SOC Center, will look at that and then stop it. They can do something about it. So they can defeat 4 minutes of that attack. And every second in a business is like a lifetime. So it's really important. So that's interesting things to note that you have to consider as part of your solution. So we get an alert, but we get it late. We get another alert at 12:03, and it tells us the potential. So we're getting valuable information, but it's just too late. There's nothing we can do. The time has passed. Or maybe the alert is not getting to the cybersecurity analysts. They're just not getting it. Maybe they're not sitting in front of their screen. They're not getting an alert on their mobile devices. There could be a number of issues there. Your job is to decide what you think would be the problem there. Then we get back to normal. There's a bit of a drop there. What are the three consequences or discrepancies you find in the data? Well, my one of the inconsistencies is that we have a threshold of 1,000, but we get alerted 1 minute after the attack, as you can see here. That's one discrepancy. So in 1 minute, we get, it goes to 2,500, which is 2.5 times our threshold. That's the inconsistency. It should have been set at 1,000. The other consistency would be that there's a lot of traffic coming in, but not a lot of traffic. Sorry, not a lot of traffic coming out. It's a second inconsistency. That's, we need to look at that too. And the third inconsistency is that everything works really normal after that, just disappears. So why that? What that time of the day? What is it about that time of the day? Well, we don't. This assessment is not about finding what was being attacked, but I would be wondering why that time of the day, 12 o'clock. Could be lunchtime. A lot of organizations, everyone just leaves. They just walk out the building and have something to eat. That's your third discrepancy. It could be you could choose a couple of others if you like, but they're the ones that are the most interesting. The next question will be, okay, hopefully you've read enough or you've understood enough about the difference between false positives and false negatives. I like to use the COVID-19 example. You go to get tested in COVID. I'm not sure where all of you are from. Some from WA or maybe from New South Wales or Queensland. But down here in Victoria, we had major issues with the coronavirus, and it was a big problem here. So when we had to get tested all the time, you go to a testing center, you drive through in a car, open the window. These people in these they look like aliens in alien masks come in and test us. Put something in our nose. wasn't a very nice experience, but they would test us, and would take a few minutes to see the results. A false positive would mean that they detected the coronavirus, even though I did not have it. What's the damage there? Well, it inconvenienced me. I have to stay at home for 2 weeks. It's a bit of an inconvenience. A false negative means that I got tested, but I was found that I did not have COVID, but in actual fact, I actually did. That's really, really bad. It means I jump on a train and I give everyone COVID because that test failed. In terms of cybersecurity, especially in this scenario, a false positive is really annoying. It can be bad of something called alert fatigue, like the boy who cried wolf. You see all these alerts and you investigate, nothing comes because it's a false positive. And then you think, well, I give up. I'm not going to look at this anymore. And then a real alert a real threat comes in. And we don't look at it because we're fatigued. We're just sick and tired of the alerts that we get all the time. And that's bad. But that's a bad thing about false positive. But, we can fix that. That's not a problem. We can concentrate or we can find a solution. But the false negative is a big concern. It got in. The bad guys got in. We did not detect it. That's really, really bad. Now, did we get a false negative here? Well, I think we did. Because we got, we had at this over here, 1,000. We got an alert up at 2,500. So we got the alert. Okay. But I think so. We got a true positive up here. But I think we got a false negative here at just after 12:01. We did not detect that spike at 1,000, so we got a false negative, and we'll need to adjust those settings. And now we know that that traffic is not good traffic for that time, because we get peak at that time. So we do get up to 700 requests per minute. We do get a lot of traffic, but not that much. So what we'll do is usually before something like this happens, we'll have a baseline. So we'll measure traffic, and we'll notice that we do have a bit of traffic around that time. So there's a bit of a peak between 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. So But between 11 and 2, we shouldn't get those peaks, because I think people go out for lunch, which is normal in Australia anyway. But outside of these peak hours, we should never really get a high traffic alert. So during these hours where there's peak hours, we get 700, we might get 1,000 now and then. It's worth having a look at, but it happens. Maybe someone did something a little bit more than they usually would. But between 11 and 12, we should not be getting anywhere near that number. So that is really, really unusual. So you write, what we've just talked about now, what we've discussed is something that you type into here. This is part of your assessment here. Then you submit your answers and you go into the next section, which is write the report. So summarize the key findings, the things that we just talked about previously. You write them down. I write this down in point form, but you need to be writing this in a paragraph. These are just some ideas if you need some help getting some ideas. But you need to construct this in a finding. So remember, this is a professional document. This is a legal document as well, by the way. There could be a data breach where you need to go to a court of law and present. So this is a legal document that you're writing here. You have to be really good at this. How will you be storing the above the report? Well, the report actually contains a lot of private and personal information, a lot of details here that needs to be kept safe. I like to use the 3-2-1 format. Store 3 copies in 2 different locations. At least one has to be cloud-based. So that's the 3-2-1. So 3 copies, maybe on your hard drive somewhere, a storage backup unit, maybe on a USB device that's secured in a safe or somewhere else that's really secured. And third one would be a cloud. You store it on a cloud, like Azure Cloud or AWS, that has encryption and has passwords, has multi-factor authentication, all those things that you should be learning about so far. And I set up a designated folder for our backups and make sure that only the right people have access to this file, because it contains some really, if attackers get hold of this file, then we're giving them information on how to attack and destroy our system. So we need to secure these documents. What threats and risks are being posed? Well, DDoS, distributed denial of service or denial of service, that's a specific threat. We know that already. But our services will be down. Our reputation will be down. Our clients are not happy. Our brand will be damaged. People think, well, we can't do business with Rick the Robot. They can't even maintain their website. Well, that's not good, right? There could be another possibility that while our systems are being overwhelmed by a distributed denial of service attack or denial of service attack, it will shut our firewalls down, which opens up the possibility of attackers sending malware into our system and then doing damage later on. It's a very, very real threat. Where would these threats be coming from? Well, I've got a suspicious mind. When it comes to cybersecurity, very suspicious person. When it comes to real life, I'm actually not suspicious at all, but this is what work is work. Corporate espionage. You've got competitors out there that want you to fail. This happens all the time. Why do some mobile phone developers all of a sudden install features that another phone company has had for a while? Where do they get that? So interesting. Or maybe a competitor comes out with a product before you do and patent, but you did it first. Corporate espionage is pretty big. Nation states, well, we're in Australia and we're in the lucky country, and a lot of other countries really don't like us for whatever reasons. Hackers, they just want money, maybe. Maybe they just want to, bring down your system, send a ransomware application, encrypt your folders, and that's it. They'll ask for a couple of Bitcoins off you. Malicious software, they want to bring everything down. Like I just mentioned previously, they'll install some software. Supply chain, maybe, so Rick the Robot creates robots that will be sold to other parties, like the healthcare and other industries. Maybe they can embed some malware into our design of the robots, install into some sort of AI or something that gets placed into our robots. that gets sold to a medical organization, and then the attackers have a way of controlling that. Rick the Robot from now on. It's a possibility. How likely? Very likely. Absolutely. Very, very likely. If an attacker goes through, then you know what? Attackers, they talk to each other. They're good buddies, hackers. Bad actors, the bad guys, they're on the dark web, tapping away, chatting. They got discussion groups, they got forums that they talk, and they'll say, "Oh, do you know Rick the Robot? I got in. It was so easy. I did a DOS attack. You know what? You should try it too." And it's very likely to happen again. And as evidence, as by the scenario before, it said that we're getting continuous attacks. So we've got some common network vulnerability types that may be contributing. We might just have, this is the big one really. The biggest threat to an organization for our cybersecurity posture is definitely the people. These creatures that walk on 2 feet, us otherwise known as humans, we are the biggest weakness in an organization. So you can design flawless hardware and software cybersecurity defenses, but all it takes is just one person to download malware, open up an email, a phishing campaign, everything's just gone, finished, done. So that's the big one. We need to go out and train our users and convince them, motivate them, encourage them to do the right thing. Say to them that, look, you know what? If we get attacked again, we lose money, you're going to lose your job. You are going to have to fight. It's what I call a resume generating event. Next time we get a DDoS, it's going to be a resume generating event for all of us. For me too. I'll have to look for another job as the cybersecurity expert, and I won't be getting another job. So because no one will trust me anymore, and you won't be getting a job either because you're the one who let the bad guys in. So that's a big one. We need to motivate them and reward them for doing good things too. So set up a phishing campaign. If they get back, there's a button in Microsoft Outlook, for example, that can say that they can click where when they find a phishing email, then they can click a button. We get that response. And we'll say, well done, that's a great effort. Give them a coffee card. Go buy them a coffee. Take them for lunch. Doesn't have to be much. Doesn't have to be thousands of dollars reward. A coffee voucher. You'd be surprised what people would do for a coffee voucher. Someone gave me a coffee voucher. I'm their best friend for a week. I'm just bouncing along the street to work. And I won't want to go home just because I got a coffee voucher. The power of a coffee voucher. We need to be patching our systems, updating our software for sure. Weak passwords. Don't laugh. Okay. If we go to a Google search, top 10 passwords 2025. Look at that. People still use these simple passwords. It's not funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. We need to change our passwords and we need to make them complex, but not complicated that people will not remember them. So make them complicated but memorable for them, for the user. Could be a phrase like something. Just generate some sort of random password like book. I'm looking around my room. I've got book screen 1927. That's and then maybe an @ symbol. That's actually a pretty good password. That's memorable. It is still impossible to crack. It will take if it's encrypted properly, it will still take 11 trillion years to break that password if they want to try to break that. Really, really powerful. And by the way, the universe is younger than that. So so make sure the passwords are strong. Insecure network protocols. We're not going to use Telnet, are we? HTTP without the S behind it. We're not going to use that. That'd be crazy. FTP servers, TFTP servers. We're going to use encrypted. We're going to use encryption on our protocols, on our file servers. Every bit of traffic on our network is going to be encrypted. We're going to use VPNs. We're going to use passwords everywhere. We're going to have a identity management system, a powerful one, that only people with the proper rights should have access to. We're going to implement an RBAC system, a role-based access control system, where we only give people what they should be, the rights and privileges of what they should be having. Poor and no governance, we're just not, we just don't have policies and procedures. That's crazy. Now, I don't like writing these policy or governance. Even though I have a master's degree in cybersecurity in governance, I just did it because it was, I assumed there was good money there, and it was just a very boring job. But it's so important to have documentation. We should have somewhere where the users of the system can go there and get information. Oh, I need to change password. Oh, what password should I change? How do I secure this file? There needs to be an area where the users can go to and find information. That's all about governance. So we need to have, when we're onboarding new users, we have to say to them, look, you can't go to gambling sites, you can't go to tobacco sites, or drug or violence, or anything that goes against our company policies, because these sites tend to have some bad things going on in the background. We're working. What people do at home is their business, but at work, we don't have that stuff there. It's very bad policy. It's a very bad policy to not have a policy that restricts users of going to porn sites or to torrent sites or tobacco gambling sites. You need to cut them all out. When we need governance on that. We don't have DDoS prevention controls. Our firewalls might not be able to handle that. So what do we do? Well, there are other solutions. We can have an intrusion prevention system. As soon as we get a DDoS, that intrusion prevention system does something about it, gets rid of it, redirects that traffic somewhere else, so that our firewall can do what it's built to do, and that's filter traffic. The traffic we don't want to come in or out. That's what firewalls are not really designed to stop these massive denial of service attacks. But intrusion prevention systems might be able to. Web application firewalls, absolutely. WAFs, we call them. We could implement a solution from Cloudflare, where our web server is protected by Cloudflare, which owns almost a third of the whole internet infrastructure. And we'll low priority cybersecurity liability. So this one, a lot of organizations see cybersecurity as like an insurance policy. It's an unnecessary cost. I actually see it differently. I think that if you put cybersecurity as a high priority and hire people and get the right people in your organization, your organization will be more efficient. You'll find ways to improve your efficiency as well in your infrastructure. And efficiency means that more productivity is more sales, more profits. I actually think that cybersecurity is not like an insurance policy where the money's dead. You have to pay someone and you never see that money again. Cybersecurity policy actually finds ways of making your system run even better, more and smoother, in my experience. But organizations do see it as a liability. They say, oh, not another cost. This is going to cost me $10,000. What? All right. And they don't want to pay for it. Businesses, in capitalism, if you expend, there's no return on investment. That's what I'm trying to say. But in my opinion, a good cybersecurity posture is a very good return on investment. You might not see it coming back in money dollars, but you can improve efficiencies. Why do governments build roads and freeways and transport systems? They actually lose money. The return in investment is productivity of the population, of the people in their state or country. They get to go to work quicker. They spend less hours on the transport, spend more time at work, pay more taxes. So it's indirect. But still, it's measurable. It is definitely measurable. Question 7, provide some recommendations. This is a big one here. What are you going to do about it? What's your opinion? How are you going to solve this? Now, just remembering that there's a key word here, mitigation. You will never, ever eliminate risk. You'll never, you could walk outside the street and you can say, well, the moon's not going to fall down and crush me or fall on me, which is probably true. But I don't have that ability to eliminate that risk completely. It's like a 0.00000, but there's still a chance. But we can mitigate the risk. So I just don't walk outside. but is it worth it? Well, in that scenario, it's a silly example. But to mitigate that risk, it's not worth mitigating. But in a cybersecurity recommendation. So I would recommend performing a full risk analysis and these things here to find vulnerabilities. We can fix these vulnerabilities with these new products like next generation firewalls, Cloudflare, reviewing a legacy-based equipment, so old equipment, fixing our alerts to make sure they're functioning properly. Cyber awareness training and education is the big one. That companies should be investing heavily in that, really, really heavily. And now that you're a cybersecurity expert, that's what we've been training you to become. Now that you're the expert in this field, you go back to work and you become the expert and you train others. You develop a cybersecurity awareness and training education program. But all these will not eliminate that risk, but they will mitigate it. They will reduce the likelihood significantly. That's all we can ask from people. Hackers will always find a way in, but we're going to make it really, really difficult and harder to a point where, you know what, if they do get in, they have to work really hard. And attackers, they're not they don't have a lot of time on their hands. They are looking for the low fruit on the branches. They're looking for opportunities to get the low hanging fruit. Let's be the top hanging fruit, so that the attackers can't have to climb up and risk their lives just to pick their fruit off the top of the tree. Let's do that. Let's make it really, really difficult. And you know what? If you do everything right, you know what? Maybe we can almost eliminate that risk. But it takes effort and time and money, unfortunately. For those out there who are frugal or stingy in their budgets, which is for business is a good thing, but not when it comes to cybersecurity. We should be investing money into that for sure. So if any of you are becoming CEOs shortly, you must invest more money in cybersecurity. So what are other ways that Daniel, the CEO, could be attacked? So there's other ways. Phishing attempts are a big one. Emails are coming in. Yep, the emails are coming in all the time. You look in your inbox, go to your iCloud or your Gmail or Hotmail if you still have it. You're going to have like 100, 300 of them. That's a big one. That's the best way for attackers to get in. It's easy, it's lazy. They send 1 million emails, they get one hit, that's it, they've made their money. But this is the big one. Insider threats. So attackers spend countless hours, thousands of dollars, lots and lots of effort and time to try and get into the system. Guess what? We've got employees that are already in. They're already there. What damage can they do? So what do you do? They know everything. They don't need to perform social engineering. They've got the knowledge already. They're in. So how do we prevent this? Well, when we hire them, we have to do really good. We have to do this well. We have to find out a lot about them as much as we can. But not to a stage where they're going to think, look, I just don't want to work here. It's too much. Which happened to me. There was a job where they just asked too much information. I thought, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I'll get another job. But we have to have that balance. We have to find out, check the references, get a working with children check. Now, even if there are no children in your organization and there's not going to be any children at all, or anyone under the age of 18 or 21, having a working for children check as part of the requirements actually is a very good strategy, because the person applying for that has to go through a real process. It could be something to consider. Pet police check, obviously, and call them past employers, and don't ask them about how their performance was, and ask them about their personality. How were they? What were they like? Were they angry? Were they? Because hard skills, things like technical skills, how to program or configure Cisco routers, anyone can learn that. But the soft skills, you can't learn, or it's very hard to learn. So when you're doing reference checks, ask about the soft skills. How were they dealing with others? How were they talking to customers? How were they when you came in and you had to ask them a tough question? How did they respond? They're the type of questions you should be asking, not about skills. And definitely don't go asking too much of people. So having like 10 years of asking for a graduate, advertising a graduate position, and that has 10 years of experience, which I've seen often. Don't do that. But anyway, so that's how we find out if our employees are good or not. But at the end of the day, if they're bad, they're bad. You can't predict everyone's behavior. Psychometric testing is a waste of time, in my opinion. There's not enough evidence, science evidence to back that, although some people might claim otherwise. It just doesn't work because it's directed. Psychometric testing is for Western white middle class to upper class people, and that's some could consider that racism or prejudice. I wouldn't use them. You just, when you're interviewing them, talk to them and ask them questions about their social skills, and just find out a little bit, as much as you can, about them without going too far. But if they're bad, they're bad. You need to try to work out other ways to mitigate that solution. So don't give them too much credentials. Don't make them administrators. Don't give them Godzilla mode or keys to the kingdom. Just give them enough to do for their role. If you give them too many privileges and they go bad, well, you're going to lose everything. So that's one way of mitigating that. Write a clear security policy that outlines how Rick the Robot will move forward and protect its networks. Well, I've got some examples. Improve firewalls, get some new firewalls, regular security training. I can't stress this enough. Now, I'm a bit biased because I'm a trainer at university at TAFE RTO level, and I have done training for other organizations. I'm very biased, but I'm telling you right now, there's no doubt about this. If your users are not trained, you're vulnerable. Your business is in trouble. And by the way, not training products, point and click, computer-based training is a waste of time. Think about it. Last time you've done those training, you just click and you just want to get through to the end and you guess the questions at the end. I do that all the time myself, don't worry. The last job that I got at RMIT, I did that. I couldn't be bothered reading all the questions. Why should I waste my time? I went straight to the end, 5 minutes, which should have taken me 2 hours, took me 5 minutes. I mean, it's just a waste of time, that kind of training. Have it face-to-face training. Afford it. Spend money. Borrow money from the bank. Invest money. It's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Yeah. Another thing you can do is when people go on holidays, this is interesting. Disable their accounts. Rotate their roles. Don't give a person just that one role. I used to work in a bank a long time ago. We used to have tellers and customer service representatives. We used to swap their roles over so that one person was replaceable just in case something happened to them. But then the other person could check up on them. I know it sounds a bit pessimistic, but I mean, we have to be cybersecurity. We have to be negative that way. We have to be very pessimistic. We don't trust. There's no trust in cybersecurity. So we'll have rotating. We'll have people who can do different jobs. So that one person moves along, they don't get too comfortable where they can hide information. So that's a good way. Pen testing all the time, regular pen testing. Do one big one, maybe once or twice a year, and then do regular small ones. Password policy complexity, don't make it too hard. 12 passwords too much. I think 8 is fine. Make it a mixture of numbers and letters, but make it memorable. You just have to remember. Yeah. Now, once you've submitted that, the person assessing your assessment might say, look, your answer's not quite there, and they'll leave a response here, and then you look at that, and then you fix it. But if nothing, what you do is just write to be confirmed here, and then if you need to do anything, if you need to fix anything, then you come back and fix it here. Here are the multiple choice questions. I'm pretty sure that you can all figure those out. They're not too difficult. But that's about it for Rick the Robot. I think it's a really good and enjoyable assessment. When I first saw this, I thought this was well written, well done. It has it's combining a lot of your knowledge. It's definitely assessing your ability and skills. This is real world stuff. Everything that you learn in this environment, everything that you've learned so far, up to where you're at now, is being implemented in this assessment. And if you're successful in completing this assessment, you're ready to perform at an organization when you leave, when you get that beautiful diploma, that really big, that's what we're here for, right? That big diploma that you can put on the wall. But I'd like to thank you, and I look forward to seeing you into the next video. In the meantime, please reach out if you need any assistance. You can contact anyone at Equinum College, or you can contact me directly. But thank you very much for viewing this video, and look forward to meeting you soon.